It's our first Mailbag Monday in a while. We're going to talk about Dylan Cozens, talk about Alex Vlasic, and the Muppets. All coming up next on CHGO Blackhawks. Happy Mailbag Monday. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast. I'm Jay Zawoski with Greg Boyson and Mario Tirabassi. We are here today to answer all of your Blackhawks and life queries. Before we get started, do us a favor and smash that like button for us on the YouTube page. Subscribe to the YouTube page as well. And if you're listening on the podcast, we love you too. Follow, subscribe, all of those things that your podcast app calls for. And if you got some time, a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify would be delightful. So before we get started, we got a little package in the mail today.
Sure did.
All we know is it came from Dyer, Indiana. You can see it in front of a little white hat there. Someone sent us a personalized CHGO Blackhawks ornament, which is very cool. And we don't know where it came from.
It's a Blackhawks ornament with sticks and a puck. Says CHGO Blackhawks. And it's got our names on it. So, yeah, if you're from Dyer, Indiana, and sent us this on purpose, let us know. Because there was no identifier on there. But thank you. It's really cool.
Appreciate it.
Really love that.
It is very cool. Good job. So it'll remain on set until we get a hook for our tree.
Yes,
and we do have a tree over there.
We have a tree.
Yes.
And I've had a bag full of sports-themed ornaments that I've forgotten 6 days in a row now. So,
oh, man.
Maybe by Christmas I'll actually get a
streak alive.
I have a headless Patrick Kane. I think a Mario Lemieux ornament without a leg. All those ones always seem to break.
Rough being on your Christmas tree.
Apparently. I guess so. Yeah, it gets physical out there. It's a Donnybrook.
No soft players allowed at the Zawoski tree.
That's right.
I got a Troy Aikman Christmas ornament that's still kicking somewhere in my parents' house.
All right, nice.
Yeah, that's an old one.
You're a Cowboy. That's right. You're a Cowboys fan, right?
Partially.
Cowboys, Lakers, Yankees?
Yeah, exactly.
Alabama.
Yeah,
Alabama. Right.
Yeah, and Bruins when they're good.
And Bruins when they're good. Perfect. All right, hey, before we get to the mailbag, a lot of people are asking about Buffalo Sabres center Dylan Cozens, and should the Blackhawks inquire about Dylan Cozens, and what would it take to get Dylan Cozens? I think we're all agreed that the answer is if Dylan Cozens is available, you are picking up the phone and making that call and trying to find out exactly what it's going to take.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a guy that is established as an NHL player. Is young, is big, is skilled, and plays center. Something that this team and most NHL teams would love to have, and the Blackhawks would be instantly improved if they added Dylan Cozens. The question is, what would you have to subtract from the Blackhawks to get Dylan Cozens?
A lot.
Yeah. This is where the disconnect is coming
right.
in.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Philipp Kurashev
Straight up.
and Connor Murphy or TJ Brody or Joey Anderson. You're not going to get a guy like Dylan Cozens, who is a 23-year-old, 6'3" center who's locked up for 6 more seasons, who has 130-goal season already under his belt. You're going to have to give up something to get a player like that. It would be a painful trade as far as, you're going to say goodbye to at least 1 or 2 of your top prospects. Is it one of your high-end defensemen? Is it one of your forwards and a first-round pick? But as we get, that's what the Blackhawks have to offer. Is that what the Buffalo Sabres want? That's the real question.
So a couple things here that we need to qualify before we start digging in too much too. Terry Pegula, who's the president of the Sabres, flew to Montreal to address the team today.
Don't they also own the Bills?
Yes.
And basically told them, hey, We believe the answer to all of our problems are right here in this Sabres locker room.
Everything's fine.
So that happened today.
Which means everybody's fired and traded tomorrow.
This afternoon, yeah.
But leading up to that point, Dylan Cozens has been rumored as someone being shot by the Sabres, and he still may be. Now, if you listen to 32 Thoughts today, and I want to be very, very clear, this is Elliot Friedman playing trade in his head. This is not something he's hearing from sources. It's just him trying to connect some dots and see what might work. He was saying Dylan Cozens and Bowen Byram to Vancouver for Elias Pettersson. That's the size of the trade we're talking about here. And it doesn't sound to me like Buffalo has any interest in like making their team worse right now.
They can't. They are a team that their fan base is super frustrated. It's been how many years since they've last been in the playoffs? 13, 11? It's been a long time. It's been
a while. Yeah.
It's been a long time.
A while.
And they've rebuilt 2 or 3 times already. You thought you were done rebuilding when
2011.
You got so going on 14 years.
Jeez.
I was still in college. Believe it's the longest playoff drought in the league right now. Like,
yeah, I mean, if you're counting the bubble, because
the
Coyotes got into the bubble playoffs,
yeah. Tied with the Jets, New York Jets,
the New York Jets,
the longest playoff drought.
Well, yeah, but the Coyotes got in the regular playoffs. I mean, 2012.
In 2012, yeah, that's true. So,
I mean, there's been 2 franchises added to this league who have made the playoffs. One of them has won a Stanley Cup since the Buffalo Sabres last been in the playoffs. And this is a very passionate fan base. They got the fire and the passion in Buffalo, my friends.
Yeah.
And you thought you were done rebuilding when you got Jack Eichel. And then you traded Jack Eichel.
You at least were like, that's the future.
Right.
Yeah,
and then you traded him to start over again. And now you've identified Dylan Cozens as one of your young core. You've got him locked up, and Power locked up, and Dahlin is locked up. Tage Thompson is locked up.
Peterka is a nice player.
Tuck is there.
Like,
you have your core. You can't now go, well, we just identified this guy, and half a season into his big contract extension,
the future. Just kidding.
We're going to trade him for more picks and prospects.
Right.
You just can't do it. So if they are going to trade him, which I think is stupid to begin with, because how many times can the Buffalo Sabres watch Ryan O'Reilly and Jack Eichel and Sam Reinhart get traded and win Stanley Cups with other teams? Like, eventually you have to keep a core together and try and win with them.
You imagine what the Sabres would look like if they were competently
they'd
run?
Be good. They'd be a powerhouse.
With Reinhart and Eichel and
yes.
Jeez.
So if they are going to trade Dylan Cozens, I don't think the Blackhawks are a good trade partner, because they want a guy that's going to help them turn this season around and try and get into the playoffs this season. They don't want 4 more lottery tickets to maybe be good again 5 years from now. I just don't see that happening.
And if they do decide they want a prospect in a trade, and it is the Blackhawks, it's not Philipp Kurashev. It's Frank Nazar, it's Kevin Korchinski, it's Alex Vlasic. It's a player of that level.
Right. And if they say we want Alex Vlasic, you say, okay, thanks for checking. We'll talk to you later. Good luck with all future endeavors.
Yeah.
But it's going to be someone that is going to be a painful giveaway. Like it's going to be someone you're like, oh, I really don't want to give that guy away, but I see it. So
it is the Sabres though.
Yeah, they're not. No, so like as many problems that Dylan Cozens solves, if he's a Blackhawk, I just
could create an equal problem.
And I just don't see the Sabres looking to get young again. They're already one of the youngest teams in the league. You can't get much younger.
Why set things back 3 more years?
They're in the spot of a rebuild where all your young players are hitting their early 20s and should be like, you should be on the upside.
Right. Yeah. You shouldn't give away a guy to get a 23-year-old to get younger.
And EB makes a good point. He says the Hawks are also not a good trade partner because they have an excess of D-men, and D-men is not what Buffalo needs anyway.
No, they don't.
That's true, too.
Like, the things you're going to trade would be probably defensemen because you're more comfortable with that. But just throwing it out there, whether it's Cozens or whoever, if the Hawks are going to try to acquire a 23-year-old big center,
it's going to be expensive.
I am not opposed to proven. I should throw that qualifier in there too. Proven. I'm not opposed to trading a Korchinski or a Nazar, or the only guys I'm not trading are Bedard, Vlasic, and Levchinov. Those are the three that are untouchable for me.
And the only reason Levchinov is untouchable for me right now is because it's way too soon to even be considering that.
Just got it.
Yeah, like that. Like
let him play a full season.
Is Levchinov untouchable 3 seasons from now? I don't know.
We don't know.
But right now, the only reason I'm not trading him is because it's way too soon to be. That's a guy you made a somewhat risky pick to take him second overall, and then you're going to trade him 4 months later. That's not a good look.
Yeah, you can't.
It's got to be somebody better than Dylan Cozens if I'm doing that.
Right. Yeah. You
Like-
can't go against the grain.
Like
in
Mikko
that kind of
Rantanen plus an 8-year extension. I'll include Levchinov in a trade for that, but not Dylan Cozens.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the mailbag. So just, I think we crossed that. I think we've communicated our thoughts on Dylan Cozens very clearly.
Yes, hopefully you
it's
still have
worth-
time to cancel your Dylan Cozens Blackhawks.
Yeah, make the
jersey
call.
order.
Make the call.
It's worth
find out.
checking into, but
Find out.
But I think very quickly you'll realize Blackhawks and Sabres
It doesn't seem like a
not
match.
going to match up.
If the Sabres were tearing down again, then yes, the Hawks would be a favorite in that trade because they have so many young prospects and draft capital to move. But just the Sabres aren't in tear down mode; they're in tinkering mode.
They're in tear down mode.
Tinkering is right.
Yes,
Wait it out.
Maybe not.
They
Maybe
might start tearing down.
Maybe
again.
hiring a fossil of a head coach was a bad idea when you got a really young team. Just a thought, but
And, just to address you, Earthbound says I feel like Kurashev in a third for Kako might get it done. Philipp Kurashev has zero value right now.
right. And Kako
We
doesn't
did
have
this
a lot
last.
of
third
We,
round- in
we
a
did
third
this
round
last
pick.
year with Lucas Reichel.
It's not the NFL. A third-round pick does not carry a lot of value in this league.
No.
First and second, yes. A third, no.
Kako can't even play. He's getting healthy scratched on a team that is a raging, even a bigger dumpster fire than
Yeah.
the Blackhawks are right now.
Yeah,
Like,
but we need to stop with the Philipp Kurashev is going to be the piece to get big deals
No.
done. He's not.
if you were going to trade Philipp Kurashev, you were going to do it this past summer when his trade value was through the roof.
Correct.
Not now when it's less than zero.
Yes. All right, let's do a mailbag question before we hit the break zone here.
Do we want to do the video one first?
Sure.
All right, I'll cue that up.
All right, we got a video from
got a
our
video
pal
one.
Windy City Hockey sent in the video, and diehards, you are allowed to do this too. Just keep it short-ish, between 30 and 45 seconds. Let's throw it up in the Discord, and you'll see yourself on the show.
There you go.
Hey guys, thanks for taking the question again. This time, my question is, do you think the Blackhawks should consider more of a push towards a youth movement with maybe more call-ups from Rockford, such as Doc or Slager, since they've already have called up Nazar and Korchinski? Or do you think the Hawks should consider maybe acquiring some players via trade to kind of even out the roster a little bit better to maybe produce some more offense? Thanks for taking the question again, and see you guys at the United Center tomorrow against the Capitals.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice.
The only way I'm making a trade for a veteran is if they're adding a star.
If you're adding somebody who's a upper lineup guy.
And that you have projected on your team for the next 7-8 years.
Yeah,
But
not like a guy who's in his mid-30s or something like that. Like, you're not getting another Maroon or Smith or something. Yeah, if you're getting a player who's a established NHL veteran, late 20s, whatever, like sure, I'd be open to that. But I think what we will see is with Anders Sorensen here, I think we've kind of talked about like there's more of a willingness to have the younger guys come up here because it's the guy that was in Rockford with them. So I am in favor at this point in the season. They want to call up Slaggert and Doc and give Del Mastro a few games or whatever. I'm in favor of that because, it's those are guys that are part of the future, have a chance to be part of the future at the very least, and see where they're at. Del Mastro's a second-year guy, Doc's second-year guy, Slaggert still technically first-year guy, but he's a little bit older. I'm all for giving those guys a chance because at this point in the season, what are your veterans supposed to do in the lineup? They're not pushing you towards anything. You're at the bottom of the league, so
Right.
let's see where some of these younger guys are at.
Yeah, I kind of like the mix now that you have Korchinski and Nazar up here. Kind of a youth injection, not a full youth movement. I think post-trade deadline, you're going to see a lot more of those guys here. Once you start moving some of these veterans, then you'll have spots open for your Slaggerts and your Docs and all those other guys. And by the end of the year, you'll get a much younger look.
And probably some of the college guys too.
Yeah, and I'm all for that. Yeah,
and it feels like that's what the plan was anyway. When you bring in Martinez and Maroon and Smith, those guys you have them ticketed to gain draft assets or prospects at the deadline.
Yeah.
So
and also Taylor Hall,
exactly,
maybe Ryan Donato. Yeah,
exactly. All right, we got to hit the break zone. Back with more of your mailbag questions coming up next on CHGO Blackhawks.
And we're sponsored by the Chicago Sports Network, the new home of the Blackhawks, the Bulls, and White Sox games. CHSN will broadcast more than 300 live games per year across the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox, and will feature a lineup of original Chicago-focused sports content. They're also Chicago-based, Chicago-built, and Chicago to the core. They're bringing it to every corner of Chicago across our 77 neighborhoods and beyond. At CHSN, Chicago comes first. Visit CHSN.com for more info on how to watch the Bulls, Hawks, and Sox games all season long.
Whenever I hear that Chicago to the core, I think of the Ben and Jerry's where they got the caramel core.
That's ice cream.
I got a pint of that waiting for me at home.
Nice. That's happening.
Chicago
I'm also
core.
I'm gonna need to choose chill later too, of course, because it's the holidays, and maybe you've been hinting to your parents about that one gift you want. You've been putting the little ads in there in your mom's magazines. You've been dropping little hints at school and your little essays and things, and everyone keeps telling you you're going to shoot your eye out, and it's just not adding up for you. And then you watch the movie Slapshot, and you see your mom in bed with Reggie Dunlop, and you get all sorts of mixed feelings, and you don't know what's going on anymore, and your whole world is thrown upside down. Well, that's a good time to choose chill, among many others, but that one especially. When I saw that scene, I needed to choose chill very quickly.
It
was in the form of a cold shower, but I didn't have any Coors Light handy. If I had, I would have reached for a Coors Light.
Shower beer.
It's Mountain Cold Refreshment, and you don't know by now when those mountains turn blue on your Coors Light can or bottle, it's as cold as the Rockies. So when you embrace a chill mindset, it's a good time to choose chill and crack open a Coors Light. Make the most out of the times that you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Hockey. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. And I wonder how many people we just informed that Suzanne Hanrahan is also Ralphie's mom.
Yeah. Could be blowing some minds.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a traumatizing scene for 16-year-old.
Didn't bother me in the least.
Well, it was traumatizing when I realized who it was. I was like, oh my God, that's Ralphie's mom.
That's Ralphie's mom.
And the old man's going to be pissed
Yes.
when he gets home.
I cannot believe that my dad watched Slapshot with me the first time seeing it, and I was like 12.
Yeah,
And it was like
not a movie that could be made these days.
Might need to fast forward this one.
Yeah, you cannot make Slapshot today. That is for sure.
Yeah.
No, it would have to be much different.
Yes. All right, back to the mailbag we
And
go.
less funny.
All right, our first question here from Deadhawk has a question for basically the layout here. Has CHGO ever considered intermission reports, maybe 10 minutes session breaking down the first period? Just think it would be cool and would pull some market share.
Wow.
Oh, market share. Okay.
I mean,
First intermission when we're doing road games, that's when I
you're going
I
to
make
get
the
the
dinner
tacos.
run.
Yeah.
Second intermission is usually nap time. So I don't know.
We can't do it for home games
Yeah,
because
we're
we're
at
at the
games.
United Center. So.
I know DNVR does it sometimes, but they kind of do watch-alongs right every game. It seems like.
Well,
Or
it helps
a lot
when
of
it
them.
helps when you have a sports bar.
They
as
got
your
the sports
studio.
bar, so it's
Right,
it's
yeah,
a little-
It's a lot easier to do.
You know, our
stuff
Bears
like that.
crew does halftime, but that's more integrated into the sport of football. And
I think
And it's longer.
it's
too,
not a
isn't it?
horrible idea.
Yeah.
I don't know how often it would have a lot of value, but I would like to do more watch-alongs. We should do at least one or two watch-alongs a month. I
well,
do kind of enjoy those. I
Good-
think people enjoy
good thing you
them as
brought that
well.
up because I think we have at least one more or two more on the calendar.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, we do enough shows a week. I'm tired of my own voice.
Maybe we'll
Yeah. Plus, if I waste my one good thought of the game in the first intermission, I'm going to have nothing for the post game show.
maybe we'll do some social stuff down the line.
Maybe a better idea for Discord or something. Yeah. Not a bad idea, Dead Hawk, but I'm tired of myself. All right. Whoa.
This is a long one.
Next question. It's a bit wordy. I'll try to get through the whole thing. So, contingent on Sam Rinzel playing really well in college in his sophomore year, already 6 goals, 8 assists. Wondering if you guys feel that Kyle Davidson maybe made a mistake in not taking Demidov at this point, just reflecting on the team we have, young players in the system, makeup of the team. It seems obvious that we would need another playmaker with vision, speed, generational offensive talent. I know it takes longer for defensemen to figure things out, so we have to be patient with Levshinov, but our defense seems solid with Vlasic, Korchinski, Kaiser, Allen, Crevier, Rinzel. What's your updated thoughts here?
I mean, we all kind of wanted Demidov anyway. So I do think not taking Demidov was a mistake. It doesn't mean I think Levshinov is bad. I'm very excited about Artem Levshinov. I just would have preferred to have Demidov on the team for the reasons you listed. They're very deep at defense, and you're seeing now, as you mentioned, Rinzel's college season is going very well. Even Louis Crevier now, who last year we were kind of like, looks like something. But
maybe
there is always a market for steady defensemen.
Yeah.
And when you do eventually have to trade for that star player, and it seems like these days, as you're looking down the road, as the cap is going up, all these teams we thought were going to have cap trouble and lose a Rantanen or a Marner or a Kaprizov or whatever it might be, it's now becoming a lot more realistic for those teams to re-sign those players. So trade might be the avenue you have to go to get a player of that caliber. So having those defensive assets is very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's far too early to say drafting Levshinov over Demidov was a mistake. I was Team Demidov. I wanted that. It's for all those reasons you mentioned. I was all about drafting Ivan Demidov. I'm not.
Yeah, we all were.
I'm not mad that we have potentially a number one defenseman in the works, and if Levshinov proves to be that guy, your two-way number one defenseman, then it's not a mistake, no matter how good Demidov is, because those guys are far more valuable than goal-scoring wingers are. But
they're harder to come by without drafting and developing your own.
And Demidov got off to a really good start at the KHL, but he's got 1 assist in his last 10 games right now. So
I think him and Kancerov are almost tied in points, and Kancerov's played less games.
And Kancerov is older and will be here sooner.
Potentially.
So
that's a name we do not discuss enough.
No,
we don't see him.
Big fan, but
yeah.
So it's far too early to say it was a mistake one way or the other. You have to let this thing play out. 10 years from now, we could be like, well, why didn't it was a mistake not drafting Caden Lindstrom number 2? We have to let these things.
That's looking rough, though.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I know.
Maybe Levshinov and Demidov, neither of them amount to squat, and the guy drafted 12th is the best player of that draft. Like, you don't know. You got to let these things play out. Like, so to say it was a mistake less than a year away from that that's a little harsh. To say it was possibly an unwise decision, sure, that's fair. But we'll let it play out, see what happens, see where we are in 2-3 years, and then we can pound the table and say it was a mistake or brilliant.
And where the Blackhawks are right now, they're going to be in a position to draft a outstanding forward in the top 5. And I feel like having gone Levshinov 2nd overall last year, I don't think that they're going to go top defense again.
You would hope not.
I know Matthew Schaefer is looking insane.
But you can only skate 6 defensemen.
Right, yeah. You only need 6 defensemen.
And you've got
I think you need
them right now.
and you have such a need for a big scoring forward, preferably a center, and there's at least 3 of them in the top 5. I think you got to go that direction.
All right, let's get one more in here before we hit the break zone again. What do we got next, Nate?
So with this is from Blackhawks 63, with Landon Slaggert's extension next season being a one-way NHL deal, would it make sense to give him some games in the NHL this season?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think
he's
we will
going to play
see it.
games this year.
He'll be up here after if either a long-term injury, which you don't want to see, could open the door for him, or he's going to be one of those guys post-trade deadline that will be up here and playing the last 19, 20 games of the season here, and then probably go back down for, a Calder Cup playoff run if the Ice Hogs get that far. That's not guaranteed at this point of the season.
Currently 5th in the division.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's very fair to say Landon Slaggert will play NHL games this year. It's just a matter of when, not if. Yeah, I mean, he was exciting to see in I think it was about 10 or 12 games he played at the end of last season. Yeah, I think he's a guy, and as the question mentioned, the one-way deal extension for the next 2 years after this year is very indicative that they have very near future NHL plans for him. So yeah, I think he's going to play.
Yeah, he's certainly in the plan. Speaking of Landon Slaggert, a Notre Dame alum, the Hawks and Notre Dame showed the jerseys for their game at Wrigley Field.
Awkward.
Which is happening, I think, the 3rd
with
and the 4th.
Ryder Ralston on there.
January 3rd and 4th.
Apparently took these photos 2 months ago.
Milwaukee Admirals legend
Yeah.
Ryder Ralston.
Those are sick, and if anyone would like to send me one of these, you know where to find us.
The color and the Chicago stuff is really cool.
That's really cool.
Could do without that logo, though.
Chicago's a Big Ten team, Notre Dame.
He looks so sad in these pictures. Like
Because he knew he was getting traded.
he looks like someone knocked
traded.
over his coffee as he was on his way to the ballpark.
These were probably taken 3 minutes after he was told he was traded to Nashville.
Yeah.
Son of a...
Those are sick, though. I really
are
like
cool,
the
yeah.
design. I'm surprised Notre Dame is going so Chicago with these. Like
Chicago's
with the
Big
Chicago
Ten team.
color scheme. If you're not watching on YouTube, it's a white jersey, and the sleeves and the, what do you call it? Like around the waist is a Chicago flag, basically. And then the logo is a Cubs C with the Notre Dame leprechaun in the C.
It's cool.
They're very cool. I'm very surprised that this is what Notre Dame's going with, but they have Notre Dame in the last few years, both on the football field and hockey and all sports, has gone a little away from tradition. Like the football team's been wearing all white for the first time, or
They like money just as much as anybody else.
yeah.
Now, is that what they're going to wear for the game?
I would assume.
I believe so. Yeah, that's how I understood it.
I don't think they would make that.
It's not like a commemorative thing. Like,
No, I'm pretty sure that's what they're wearing
That's
for the
cool.
game.
Yeah,
the shamrocks on the sleeves there. It's not up there anymore, but the star on the sleeve where the Chicago flag would be, those are actually shamrocks and they're gold. That is cool.
nice. Yeah, that looks really cool. I was on
sacrilegious.
Notre Dame's website, and they
Blasphemy.
had a bunch of Chicago flag theme like sweatshirt. I was trying to find a hat actually, but I found a glorious sweatshirt that I'm just sent along to my wife ahead of Christmas. Just in case.
You
Kind of
can
matches your shirt there.
you
Greg.
can wear it when you buy me my free burrito next week.
Okay. That's fine.
They are shamrocks, not clovers. Clovers are 4 leaves. Shamrocks have 3.
You idiot.
I'm just trying to educate the people and myself.
Good job. You got to admit your mistakes. Speaking of Greg's shirt, before we hit the break zone, because we don't have time to do another question, but I do have time to tell you about being a diehard. If you want that shirt or any of the CHGO shirts in our awesome store, become a diehard today, allchgo.com. You can do that. Become a diehard. You get a free shirt or hat when you sign up, which is an amazing deal.
The CHGO T-shirt, not the Star Wars Christmas.
Not
shirt.
that one.
you
No,
can't
the
get that
CHGO shirt for sure. You'll get that, access to all of our great written content, access to our Discord, which gives you priority on Mailbag Monday, as you've seen so far on the show today. 20% off all of our events. Again, if you bought a ticket to our suite, you saved $80 per ticket on our suite tickets. So, and if you want to go to the Bulls game for Derrick Rose night, that's $100 savings per ticket if you're a diehard. So it adds up. I know it looks like sticker shock. It's $80 for the year, but when you put it all together, you're getting a free shirt right off the hop. It really is a great deal. So we encourage you to become a diehard at allchgo.com. Greg put his pigs in puck out today, giving you the latest on Mark Eaton's Rockford Ice Hogs. So,
Yes.
all right.
And the no-name goalies that they have to play these days.
Yes, exactly.
How dare you besmirch Ben Gaudreau?
Hey, he was good.
He was,
night.
yes.
He was.
I told you all about him, so he's no longer a no-name. If
Exactly.
You
All right, we're going to hit the break zone again. Back with more of your mailbag questions coming up next. But if you're looking for the perfect way to elevate your day, you can do it at Verilife Dispensary. They've got everything you need from premium cannabis products to expert advice. Slow down.
Really good.
With 8 convenient locations across Illinois, discovering your perfect experience has never been easier. Verilife proudly offers a price match guarantee, ensuring you get the best value by matching local competitors' prices on eligible products. Don't miss out on their latest deals and exclusive offers only at Verilife Cannabis stores and online at verilife.com. If you place your order online, you can redeem that code CHGO25 at pickup to receive your discount. So again, mention code CHGO25 in store and receive 25% off one regular priced item. Restrictions apply. Go to Verilife.
Speaking of premium, how about ComEd? Did you guys know that ComEd can help businesses save money by becoming more energy efficient?
Why do you guys always put me on the spot?
We talked about this yesterday.
I went to Verilife and my short-term memory is affected, and I know I had no idea ComEd does that.
Well, yes. ComEd's energy efficiency program can help find up to 35% in energy savings for businesses.
Wow, that's Tony Esposito % in energy savings.
Well, you remember that.
What does a business have to do to get all that stuff?
All they got to do is sign up for a free facility assessment at ComEd.com/biz.
Is that really all it is? And why the heck aren't more businesses like the one Jay owns doing it?
That is all that they have to do. I don't know why they're not doing it. Maybe they forgot the website. It's so simple to remember. Right, Greg?
Sure, it's that ComEd.com/biz website.
Mm-hmm.
ComEd.com/biz.
It is ComEd.com/biz. Yes, that is what it is. Terms and conditions do apply. Offers are subject to change. Actual savings will vary by customers' energy usage and rate. And the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is funded in compliance with state law.
All right.
Which is good.
Nate?
You always want to be state
to
law
the sack.
compliant.
All right, so our next question is about Philipp Kurashev, everybody's favorite Blackhawk at the moment. Being an RFA, what does it mean? The Hawks have to make him a contract offer, or can they non-tender him like in baseball? Cannot grasp how RFAs work for some reason.
Yes, they can not qualify him and say, thanks for playing. You are now a UFA.
It's like they did with 100-point Dylan Strome.
True.
Was he still an RFA?
Yeah,
he was still an
Yes,
RFA.
he was.
Wow. Jeez.
Yes.
Yeah, well.
That's the one that bugs me.
And
I know you probably don't.
At the
if
time,
if he's there, you don't get Bedard.
nobody was screaming to keep Dylan Strome at that point.
I know.
He
seemed like a good player to give away for nothing.
And he admitted, he recently talked to Frank Saravalli, and he admitted that the reason he went to Washington is because he had almost no other options on the table when he became a free agent. And the Blackhawks tried to trade Dylan Strome by the before the trade deadline of that season, and there were no takers for the price that they thought was fair at the time. So, I mean, I don't think revisionist history, sure, keeping this version of Dylan Strome looks like a better idea than letting him walk, but at that time he wasn't this guy. So, again, it's some things pan out in different ways, and I'm pretty sure we have another question that revolves around revisionist history and former Blackhawks players.
Yes.
But yeah, regarding Kurashev, restricted free agent just basically means that the Blackhawks have first say in being able to re-sign him or give him a qualifying offer, things like that. It'll be very interesting to see what they do if he keeps playing the way he has been this season, because I know after last season it was a lot of like, wow, like, he might be a guy that, plays on the third line and is a significant role player for this team down the road. And now I think that's kind of gone out the window, and you're kind of back to square one of trying to figure out what exactly he is. If he keeps playing this way, I mean, he might be another one that you let walk.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you can get him for cheap, I wouldn't mind keeping him around, but I don't know. I'm not tying up anything As we're starting to approach the time where the Hawks are going to start seriously paying people, whether it is via trade, free agency, or you got to extend some of your better young players, money's going to be tighter. You got to be more careful with it. I don't know. I've seen nothing from Kurashev.
He's got
this year,
50
and it's really
games to try
disappointing.
and prove to the front office if he's going to be a long-term piece here. And right now, you've got 4 or 5 guys in Rockford that can do exactly what Philipp Kurashev is doing right now, which is a whole lot of nothing.
I can do what Philipp Kurashev is doing now.
Ooh,
Nothing.
But you've got so we'll see. As I said, 50 games left for him to prove that he should be here, and we'll revisit that when we get to the end of the season and see where he's at.
All right, next one.
Next question is from Brandon. I have heard references on a couple pods about how young players might be more comfortable playing in a new system under Anders, but I was always under the impression that the RFD, Rockford and Chicago, play the same systems for development purposes. Is the current system a modification of Richardson's or developed by Anders? If the latter, do you think changing the systems in year 2 of the rebuild will have any effect on player development in Rockford? Also, team Anders, not Anders.
Thank you, Brandon. Just to be clear, I think what we were saying about the comfort level with Sorensen is that these guys have played with him for several years and know it's more of a personality thing than a system thing.
Yeah, and I know we've made a big deal over the switch from the 2-1-2 to the 1-2-2 systems. Teams will switch that up even within season, and those are basic hockey systems. Like, they're not crazy. Anders is the first coach to ever do something like this type of thing. These are systems these guys have been playing in since they were 8, 10 years old. These are simple, basic hockey systems. As far as what the Ice Hogs ran, I think they tried to run the 2-1-2 a lot, but in the AHL, you mix it up a little bit depending on what your roster looks like. And the switch from the 2 is not that big of a difference as far as like what the players, there's a little difference in responsibility and learning on where the guy is supposed to be, but they've played them before.
Yeah.
I think when we talk about like the systems, the same between the 2, it's just more of like the culture, the terminology, expectations. They kind of keep that the same. And throughout the course of an AHL season, you're going to change things from a night to night basis based on, you may have to require to just run a simple system on a night because you've got 3 guys who were in the ECHL the day before because the Blackhawks have a bunch of injuries and they took, your best players away.
Right.
Kind of like this weekend. So, the difference between Luke and Anders systems, it's not like apples and oranges here. It's not like revolutionary stuff.
Right.
They're both still 2 basic common systems, just a different way to do it.
Yeah, and you could see it in the way.
Yeah, one's more offensive minded,
much
the
more
other
aggressive.
is more, we can't let this team score.
Yes. And it didn't work. All right, next one.
Next one's one of my favorite ones in a while. If you were brought into the Blackhawks what would your non-player role be with the Blackhawks? Trainer, coach, broadcast, scout, Zamboni driver, caterer, GM. Explain, of course.
My dream job until this one, because I didn't know this one existed until I got it, was Charlie Meliodas' job of being the radio and pre and post game show host. I would never do that now.
And
This is so much better.
Well, and that's you've seen like how much work those guys have to do too. Like,
yeah.
Charlie and Joe Brand ahead of them, and the TV guys, they make it look easy, but those guys,
It's tough.
there's a lot of work, high pressure moments.
Like we talked about with intermissions, yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to
There's-
Pat Boyle's
The timing
world.
is
Yeah.
timing is brutal.
Yeah.
And you don't always have those Peter Check's features ready to go 6 times a week.
Check mix.
I am not qualified at all, but being a GM would be amazing. I like my favorite thing about the sport, aside from the game itself, is trade deadline day, free agency day. I love that stuff. And I'd love to do, maybe if some year we gain their trust, if we could be like a fly on the wall for trade deadline day and produce something. I mean, we'd have to protect information, but like,
yeah, right.
it'd be a cool thing to see. And I would love to do that someday.
That would be very cool. to see that. Yeah. I'm also not qualified to do this, but I think it would be fascinating to be on the equipment staff. Just the things that they're in charge of and all the little nuances of every player's like preferences and what equipment they need, what gloves they need, how they want their skates baked differently, and just all of that just fascinates me. And I think it would be really, really cool to be like knowledgeable of that and be able to help the guys. A lot of what they do, those little nuances, like comes down to like the equipment staff being on top of their game and stuff. And you see how many times in a year do you see a stick break on a player and then they run to the bench and they grab the stick and then they're off on a rush and then they score and everyone on the bench is cheering the equipment guy. Like, it's just like stuff like that. I think is fascinating. I'm so not qualified to do that, but I think it'd be awesome to do that.
So I don't say thankless in a way like the players don't appreciate it, but I think their amount of work compared to everyone else in the organization is
they're there.
I think they work
almost
harder
never
than any,
see it.
They're there 2 hours before the team gets there and 2 hours after the team leaves.
Yes,
Those
people work the hardest. They've got to be there when the players arrive. They got to stay until the last player is gone. Like, it is just
crazy.
And you got I don't think the Hawks have any of these guys, but there are pud whacks around the league that'll berate an equipment guy if their skate isn't just right, or if they're struggling, they might blame the equipment manager. Like, it is not a glamorous job, but I do think the vast majority of players really appreciate it. Next time we have Vlasic here, we should talk to him about that. Like, like, what are the little things equipment managers do that maybe fans don't?
We had a question in our Discord specifically for Vlasic that we'll save him to about equipment, and then we can segue it right into that. See,
beautiful.
It all works.
Look at us doing stuff.
I want to be a scout. I think being an NHL scout is just an awesome job.
We've done it before.
I was gonna say you did some scouting.
I did some scouting for a couple of North American hockey teams right the 2 years before COVID, and then that kind of wiped out that whole idea. It's hard to scout hockey games when you're not allowed to be at hockey games, but I loved those days. They were long weekends doing the showcases, but it's so much. I just love the intricacies of scouting reports and the scouting meetings, and just to do it at the NHL level, you see all the guys. It's a fraternity. It's the same guys. You're in a different NHL or AHL arena every night, and you're watching games and you're making important decisions, or at least putting in important input. You're not making decisions, but you're trying to sway the guy in charge. You're doing important work. I just love the technical game, the aspect of like what makes this guy a good player, like what makes you a good skater, what is a good shot, what is a bad shot. I love that stuff because it's always changing and it's fluid, and it's just I love those 2 years I was scouting. I'd love to keep doing that. It was such an intriguing job to do, but this is fun too.
Yeah,
far less pressure.
Yes, definitely.
Quick one here right before the break from Blackhawk 63 with Vlasic having one of the hardest slap shots in the NHL. Do you think he will someday rise to the level of Wilson or McInnis?
That'd be good.
Sweet. That'd be awesome.
I mean, if
two of the greatest ever do it, sure.
If I could predict that, I'd be back in my scouting. I'd have my dream scouting job. I mean, he had one of the hardest single shots this season, consistently wise. I don't know if it's considered one of the hardest, but he could definitely get it up there.
One of the hardest recorded in a game. Yeah.
But it's a little early to start, saying the ceiling is going to be that high. But he's been a lot of fun to watch for sure. And
next year when he's in the All-Star game and doing the hardest slap
2 years,
shot,
there won't be another one. There won't be one next year either. Olympics.
That's right. No, aren't they doing the All-Star game and the Olympics?
I don't know.
As I'm pretty sure they're doing both as like a lead-in.
That sounds silly.
But
it is the NHL, so it checks.
Yeah. So he'll do the hardest shot competition at the All-Star game next year, and then he'll go.
We need to set him.
Put a puck through the net for Team USA, like Shea Weber did.
We need to set him up in our alley and have him clock with a radar gun.
Launch pucks off the roof like Cole Komet
Yeah,
did.
just go up to the roof and just
What could possibly go wrong?
hit pucks in a different directions.
I think our lawyers have already.
If you
told us
find
about
this
that.
signed Alex Vlasic puck,
Yeah. If you can lodge it out of your skull without dying, you get to keep
if
it.
you find it going through your kitchen window,
For the record, by the way, another Hawk has entered the chat for hardest shot this year. Fourth is Alex Vlasic, who teed one up at 101.92. Louis Crevier
That makes sense.
with the eighth hardest shot this year, 99.1 miles an hour.
That makes
Guys.
sense. A lot of torque on
yeah.
on that.
Tage
Louis
Thompson shot one
Oh, another
104.
guy.
also
6'6".
gigantic.
Michael Kesserling, 103. Colin Miller, 103. Alex Vlasic, Ryan Pulak, Radko Gudas, Maverick Lamoureux, Louis Crevier, Victor Hedman, Jake Wallman. So we got Louis Crevier. Hell yeah.
good for him.
All right. We are going to wrap up Mailbag Monday coming up shortly on CHGO Blackhawks.
Oh, but first, I'm going to tell you about our pals, our friends, our good buddies over at Prize Picks, my favorite daily fantasy sports site. This is the only one of these that I can win at regularly. So they might not like me as much as I like them, but you can now win 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks.
What?
Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured or if your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return. Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Prize Picks is the best way to bet or to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. It's simple. You pick at least 2 players from any sport. You can mix and match. It doesn't all have to be hockey. You could pick 2 Blackhawks, 2 Bulls, and a college football player on the same day, and then you pick a stat. You predict that they either hit less or more on that stat, and if you're correct, you win. I turned $5 into $188 just the other night by getting all 6 picks correct.
Very nice.
It is that easy. So download the app today and use the code CHGO to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That code is CHGO to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Speaking of picks, how about Game Time picks? Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, depending on who you ask. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Its curation makes it easier to save on sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, theater events, anything that you want a ticket to. Game Time can help you get your butt in a seat. And what's great about Game Time is they're all in pricing. It's a feature that shows you the total upfront, so there's no surprise fees when you get to checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHGO, and you're going to get $20 off of your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
Game time, of course.
Yes.
Game Time. Sorry, I missed it.
Oh, good job.
I was thinking about ComEd.
Just trying to remember.
Trying to remember that thing we were talking about that I've already forgotten about.
I got a $5 super. Ooh, another super chat just came in. $5 from former Blackhawk Tyler Johnson. Says, can we talk about how Vlasic, a great lockdown defenseman, is currently having an underrated offensive season, averaging half a point per game. His ceiling is exciting. Yes, he is literally at a 42-point pace or 41-point pace.
Perfect.
Actually, no, a
Perfectly
42-point pace. So it's a
Oh,
little more
better
than
than
half a
half.
point per game.
He's got to pull it back a little bit.
Yeah.
No, he's
Yeah,
been
he's been
he's
great.
been a success story of development for sure, and I think he's just scratching the surface of how good he can be.
Yeah, I mean, not having Seth Jones has really kind of pushed Vlasic into stepping into that offensive role a little bit more, and he is more than capable of being able to do that. So that's been a great development for him this year.
His contract will look like an absolute bargain
Even
pretty much
more-
immediately.
even more so.
All right.
Other super
and the
chat?
next super chat's from Jack. Says, realistically, what would be a Cousins package? We talked about that earlier in the show, but
first 10 minutes. When we're done live, scroll back, listen to that first 10 minutes.
we don't want to rehash it for people.
We covered it in depth, but thank you for the super chat.
Yes, we love you. Thank you,
Super Jack chat.
It's probably involving
Love that
Alex
Rolling
Vlasic.
Stone song, Super Jack chat.
I wish they'd play some other songs though at their concert though.
Play some deep cuts.
Different podcast.
Play some new stuff.
Nobody says that ever.
Next question from Warm Bedards, like the name.
Long question.
First, diehard mailbag. What would be the optimal solution for the goalie situation? Soderblom continues to play well. I'd hate to let a younger goalie go. You could have a tandem of Soderblom Commesso for a couple years. What do you think? Trade, perhaps. I know Elliot Friedman said the most recent 32 thoughts about Josh Gibson with the Canes, but since the goalie market is not very hot, teams can't afford to be picky. Sorry, John Gibson.
For Soderblom, like
Play out.
if he continues to play the way that he has, for the better part of this season, then yeah, you get into an interesting situation with Mrazek and Brossoit being healthy eventually. Nothing says you can't carry 3 goalies if you don't want to lose any of them. But I think it's very rare for NHL teams to do that. Yeah, I mean, if he keeps playing up to those like 900 save percentage numbers that he's carried this year, when Brossoit is back, like sending Soderblom down is a big risk. Who now would need waivers, so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out with Brossoit. His injury issue, I mean, he might actually be the easier one to be like, okay, he's back healthy and he's on waivers. Like I think you might be able to get him through because he's been hurt, hasn't been on the ice. I don't know. It's an interesting situation to be in. And then trade market is always a gamble with goalies because you might only see 1 or 2.
And Colorado's going to trade for all of them already.
Yeah, right.
So,
Colorado's already
Colorado's out of the market
for a goalie.
So that helps the waiver
Theoretically.
dilemma. And Carolina's another team that always is looking for a goalie, but they've been tied to John Gibson, as the question said.
But they've got cup aspirations.
Right. They're not gonna.
They might claim Soderblom and see what happens, but
that's not a guy you tie.
That as a solution.
That's
to their problem.
that's not a guy you tie your Stanley Cup aspirations to because he had 5 good games this season and 5 kind of games this season. Right. As far as long-term goes, like beyond this season, Mrazek and Brossoit, legend, real person, Laurent Brossoit are signed for next year. So long-term is still Commesso and Guyan, and you have some interesting prospects in Mitchell Weeks, who's been really good for the Ice Hogs this year. Ben Gaudreau is a guy that another unsigned. He was originally a 3rd-round pick by the San Jose Sharks, who they never signed, and the Ice Hogs scooped him up. Yeah, 1 game in the AHL does not make a career, but they have some depth organization-wise as far as prospects goes, and I really think that's the last piece of the puzzle. When you get to when you get to the point where are we ready to go? Goaltending is an important piece, but I really think it's the last piece. You go defense first, then you get your forward set, and then you figure out goaltending. You either got a guy developing or you just go out and get one. Like teams have proven that you can win a Stanley Cup with average goaltending, i.e.
5 average goaltenders,
i.e. Colorado, 3 years ago and Vegas a couple of years ago. And so as far as the way this season goes, you just got to let it play it out. Who knows what the health situation is going to be. We thought Brossoit would have 20 starts under his belt by now.
Yeah, 4 weeks.
He
said 9 months ago. All right. Oh, we got one from Blue Sky.
This question from Blue Sky. Just for fun, based on how the Hawks and Blues have been playing recently, gulp. What are your predictions for the Winter Classic?
And
cold weather.
I think new Blackhawk Brandon Saad scores a hat trick
against his
on his old team.
Yeah. I'm gonna say it's going to be because everyone expects it to be bad, I'm going to go the other direction. It's going to be like 6-4 Blackhawks win. Let's have some fun.
I'm going to predict the longest shootout in Winter Classic history.
Yes. Let's do it.
Let's
I just hope it's a good game.
I mean, outdoor games are hit or miss. They could be exciting games, but like it's the hockey itself for outdoor games is usually not great. It's a little on the slow side.
I mean, it depends on the conditions, too.
So many outliers to play, but I predict a good time will be had by all.
I just want a goal by Connor Bedard. That'd be nice.
That would be fun.
That makes every game that happens, the game is more enjoyable.
I predict both teams will have fun.
All right.
That's good.
Strong prediction.
Next question from AJ on the Discord. What are your thoughts on Muppetvision 3D closing at Disney World?
See, I didn't know this was happening until I read your question, and I haven't recovered emotionally yet from it.
It's extremely sad. I mean, that's what the newest Muppet movie was about. You know, their old theater was shutting down, and they had to, spoiler alert, they had to get the money together to do one more big show.
When life imitates art.
I mean, that's you might have to get all the Muppets back together and have Jason Segel band them together, and
if anyone can do it,
save Muppetvision 3D.
Keep his pants on.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. And Forgetting Sarah Marshall, you see his thing.
Hey man,
show
it. If you got it, flaunt it.
He shows his Muppet in that movie.
That's what
sure does.
Harrison Ford when he was considering doing Shrinking. He wanted to jump in cold water. He said, "I'll take the role." P.S. Nice about Jason Segel. So
that's
good for him, man.
Incredibly sad about Muppetvision 3D. I enjoyed that at least twice as a child. It's a good show. Go see it before it closes.
Well, so if you don't know, it is now taking over Rock and Roller Coaster. Will be a Muppets themed. They're removing Aerosmith because people under 50 are like, who the F is Aerosmith?
Aerosmith at Disney World. Who would have thought that?
And they were going to do Queen, but for whatever reason, that didn't happen. So now the Rock and Roller Coaster will change to a Muppets themed ride, which I'm in. So as long as they're not completely erasing the Muppets from Disney, I can deal with it.
That's fine.
I haven't been to Disney since in like 30 years. And that was like just open when we went. I think I went and sat through that like 12 times.
It was so cool.
It was
a good place to cool off too.
The seats would vibrate. And you get squirted with the water. Like it was a good time. So R.I.P. Muppet Vision 3D.
The problem is they bury all the Muppet world. Like it's hard to find. Like, you have to kind of seek it out. It's very like tucked in the corner.
You have to go through 62 gift shops just to get there.
By design. Yeah. So at least they're not completely erasing the Muppets, which is good.
Probably only in time for one more question here. This is from Damaged Lightning on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Kyle Davidson has shown he has no problem making decisions that leave the fan base uneasy, like trading Kane, Hagel, DeBrincat, not bringing back Taves, etc. Why does he never make moves? Well, never, that would excite the fan base. Kako, Frost, Höglander are all out there.
Well, can I just address one thing? Jonathan Taves has not played hockey since he left here.
Right.
He's doing peyote in the mountains somewhere. Like it's not like he's thriving with the Bruins or something. He's out of the game.
He's not even in the country.
So
right
I don't
now.
really want to, I don't know. Again, if he was somewhere else thriving, sure.
Clearly you're dancing around the fact that Kyle Davidson hates the fan base, Jay.
He clearly does.
Clearly.
I mean, you got assets for taking Jason Dickinson. You got assets for taking Ilya Mikheyev. You got assets for taking Peter Mrazek. Those guys have been pretty good. People seem to like Nick Foligno.
People were excited when Teuvo Teravainen signed.
Yeah.
It hasn't worked out great, but
what's the quote of if you listen to the fans too much, you become one again?
Yeah.
You watch the game with them. I mean, it's this franchise needed a big sweeping change of direction because it had no direction. And Davidson came in and got rid of guys that were here and that would have kept the team, the fan base a little bit happy, would have kept selling tickets, but would it have pushed all the chips to the middle and said, yes, they will be Stanley Cup contenders again with Alex DeBrincat and Patrick Kane and Dylan Strome and Brandon Hagel. Like, Yeah, they'd be better than where they're at now, but would they be at the top of the league? Would Dylan Strome have become this version of Dylan Strome that he is with Washington Capitals now? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Would Brandon Hagel have become the player that he is now with the Tampa Bay Lightning? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Alex DeBrincat, has he gotten any better than when he was in Chicago? I'd say no. Patrick Kane this season has not been what he was last year. So, I mean, it's keeping all those guys together. I know we did the
keeping those guys together means you're the Nashville Predators. You're the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Patrick Kane has 11 points.
You're the Pittsburgh Penguins.
You're the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Because the Predators, they went all in and nothing's working. But you're the Penguins. You're like, all our great guys are now 37 and we don't really have a direction to go and we have no prospects. Like the Blackhawks needed to get into a spot where you could actually point to a future and say there's things happening there. And they didn't have that. And so, we've talked about getting Morgan Frost would probably be good for this team. Why not inquire about Niels Hoglander, Capo Caco, like however you feel about him, whatever. None of those guys excite the fan base. It would appease the fact that like those names have been out there and are available. Like those aren't the big needle pushers. So yeah, I really don't think Kyle Davidson is taking the fan reaction one way or the other into consideration in his decisions. He's taking his direction and all the assistant managers and all that, like that is working as a group to try and do what's best for the organization.
I don't think there's going to be a ticker tape parade down Madison if Niels Hoglander is acquired for a second round draft pick. But if he makes a move where he somehow manages to convince Mitch Marner to come here or Mikko Rantanen, one of those big time players, then that excites players. Like trading for a failed second overall draft pick at the lowest point of his career. Who's that exciting?
Well, yeah, and I think, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier is we know that Kyle Davidson plays a long game, and he's a lot more patient than we are. He's a lot more patient than the fans, and good. That's what I want from my GM. I want my GM to believe in what he's doing and stick by it, even if it seems stubborn, even if it seems annoying to the fan base. Look, you saw him fire Luke Richardson when he very easily could have just coasted to the end of this year and evaluated at the end of the year.
Right.
He's been aggressive. He's made trades. He's done those sort of things. So I think he's looking down the road, realizing that some of these free agent targets that maybe for the last 2-3 years I had an eye on are now going to probably be re-signed. He has to say, I need to hang on to my valuable assets if I'm going to bring in one of these legitimate difference-making players. If I'm going to bring in this generation's Marian Hossa, it's going to take a lot of draft capital and a lot of prospects to get it done. So instead of slightly improving the team with a Hoglander or Kako or Morgan Frost or whoever, all of which I'd be fine with for the record, I think he's looking and saying, I need to hold on to this stuff as much as I can if I'm going to hit that home run that this team is going to need if they want to win a Stanley Cup. So I'm fine with it. I fail to see a trade that he's like clearly lost. I guess the Hagel one would be the one because Radish and Boris Kachuk are gone, and but we got to see how the draft picks pan out. But
we'll know. Better.
Oliver Moore looks pretty nice.
Oliver Moore and essentially Sasha Boisvert is the other guy,
right?
So we'll see. It's too Tampa's got a huge lead in who wins that trade, but there's still plenty of time to be caught up. But at the time, we all were like, I can't believe he got that much for Brandon Hagel. And now it's, for as far as Tampa's concerned, looked like it was worth it.
Right. And it's the context, too. For them, it made sense at the time.
Right. And for the Hawks, it made sense at the time.
Right. All right. We are over time. So we're going to end the show. Back tomorrow for postgame Hawks and Caps, 7:30 puck drop. So don't miss it. And remember, if you're going to the game Thursday, that's the Jeremy Roenick pregame in the Atrium interview with Troy Murray. Don't miss that. So get there early for Thursday's game. But we'll talk to you tomorrow night, post-game Hawks and Caps, right here on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.